Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Thursday, it's June 5th, and this will be a chart lesson for today. And um, great day. I mean, this is the thing I love about the ES. As bad as it's been the last few days, today makes up for all of it, and fairly straightforward. There's actually a couple of trades that I didn't put on here. There's a couple more that are a little more aggressive, but still good trades. There's one right here. Let's go ahead and change that one. And then there's one down here that's a little aggressive, but probably a good trade. And I'll explain why when we get there. This one, you might even make it blue. I'm actually going to change this one to blue. Should have been blue, really. You could look at it as being a little aggressive, but there's a failed second entry short. And it's a retest of kind of the support area right across here. The line's not there. But you can see that. It's just kind of a retest of those lows. In fact, it can't even really get back and retest them. It can't. It just bounces off the. Well, I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, let's talk about the trades that I saw. We had, by the time I got in and got started today, there was really a short here, but I think this one's too risky because we had this little trend working up, and it's possible. I was looking, this might even be two-tiered. It doesn't really fit well. You see, it's not equal, and that's the thing about it. These two sides, when you've really got like a midline, they're going to be equal distance. And if they're not, then it's suspect. So I believe this is a channel working up, and a lot of times you can discount these like overnight breaks. So that was the reason I wasn't sure about going short in here yet. Otherwise, this might have been a good short. But a lot of times when you get these overnight breaks like this, you can get back into the channel and go higher. And at this point, I really thought, hey, we're just going to have another typical day with probably a 5 or 6 point range, and we'll bounce down here and go higher. But it was anything but, and you had this failed break lower below. Here's your strong support this morning, and we broke below there, and I'll explain why, what I think was happening here. And all that did was give everybody a chance to buy this market at what they perceive as a discount, which is, every time we get down to between 1915 and 1920, somewhere in there, we bounce, and it's been that way. 1915 was really the place, and now it seems like today it was around, it hit around 1920 when it broke below this strong support from yesterday afternoon, which is around 1925. Everybody perceived that to be a value, and look at this thing go. And we just finally got the break, right around 12:30, 1 o'clock, and we've pushed to a new high. But you can see this little channel working down the break, 2 legs down, and there we go again. So we could continue even higher. And somebody sent me a thing, said they're looking for shorts up here. Don't be looking for shorts in this market until you got something confirmed going in the other direction. Um, selling this market it's dangerous, especially trying to pick a top on a day like this when we went right through the previous and just kept on going. So don't be trying to sell this market without something confirmed like this right here. And let me explain this too. Early on, I was looking at this as a channel. But looking at it after the fact, I believe that it might have been a spiking channel. And really, there's your channel right there. And this was the break. And you see we got 2 legs down, and then it reversed. Doesn't mean that this is necessarily wrong, but generally when you get a channel that's this neat, when I say neat, holding prices this neatly, you're going to get a retest, and we didn't do that. But basically all this move down was to get the market down to a where it's a better value so they could buy it and look at it go. The retail traders cannot move a market like that right there. this is big time buying. This is big time volume. And it takes the big players to do that. So understand that. So they perceive 1920 to 22 area to be a value, and they bought it. And basically what that means is they expected it to be higher by the end of the day. And you can see we're 20 points higher up here at 1940, 20 plus points higher. That's a trend right there. That's a nice trend. And so don't fight or argue with it. I'd rather miss a big sell-off than to try to get up here guessing on this thing and get trapped short. So uh, those of you that are sending me emails, looking for shorts up here, forget it. I'm not saying that it couldn't sell off anytime, uh, but I wouldn't be interested in it, not this late in the day. And I think you're just, I think you're setting yourself up for trouble by trying to sell this thing. Wouldn't surprise me if we're higher before the day is over. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. Again, we had this channel working up. We had the break, moved to a new high. We kind of overshot it, and then we trended down. It looked like it was just going to be typical, um, typical, type of day. And you might have even considered buying here. I didn't mark that one, and I'll explain to you why. Um, because we weren't down to the low side yet, and if you looked at it, this could have been a low and moved to a break and then a move to a new high if this is a spiking channel. Again, it may have been a spiking channel, and maybe this is your channel and it's not two-tiered. And looking after the fact, um, that does look like that's a possibility. So based on that, if you saw it that way, you would probably want to buy that long right there. It's always better to wait on the second entry, which never triggered. As you can see, there's a nice bar there, but prices never broke above it. And that's why I'm always harping on wait on the second entries. But sometimes the payoff is right here, and just like right here, and by the time you get a second entry here, you're right back at the line, and there's a chance it's going to turn back down again. So you don't want to be entering long right here. You need something better than that, because somebody asked me about going long here. I think they actually went long here, but I don't like a long right there because that's way too risky. Even though this thing is rocketing out of here, you need to see it get above it, come back and test it, and then go higher. But back up here, I didn't like going short here because I wasn't sure if we wouldn't try to test this high again. It is a second entry short. It's very bearish. But you're going short right into this little double bottom here, and I just didn't like it. But when you get the failed second entry long right here and that bearish bar, let me move these out of the way. You can see that setup. I like that one, and then it actually pulled back and gave you a second entry short as well, counting off the top or the lows. So I like that one too. So, but I liked entering right here, but you could have added on, and if you didn't enter yet, enter right there, because then you got the little trap to the upside, and it's moving lower again. So there's two setups right out of the gate there that turned out to be fairly easy shorts. And then you come back, you got a first entry short, a pull back, and a second entry short. And a couple of people asked me about this because of the overlap. They were real nervous of it, and I understand. But I like this one to the downside, and I did. It looks better on my chart than it did maybe the one that somebody sent me, because you can see we made a double top with a real bearish bar right there. But what I liked about it was, I'm looking at this as maybe a spiking channel still at that time, and it's coming right off that line. So, and even if I really wasn't sure that this wasn't right here either at that point. So I like that trade just because it's a failed second entry long. Look how bullish that looks right there. So I know that trapped people. And so I like that short. And even though there is a little overlap there, there's a clear two-legged correction in there that tried to go higher that trapped people. And so I think that's okay. And the only thing to learn from that is just experience. Sometimes it's going to be a horrible trade. If this would have ended up as just another doji or inside bar, I'd say no, I don't think that's a good trade. But the fact that it broke higher off that bullish bar and then closed on its very low, and you're not to the overnight lows, which generally you're going to test those. So Even if you miss that one, you got another chance to enter. This one, I meant to change this to green. That one should be green. It's a good entry, but it's a first entry. And notice that, actually it is a second entry, but notice the trend line. That's the first close outside. So you're probably going to snap back. So I liked waiting on that one. And there's the second entry right there. And off we go. And that one tests the lows. And like everybody else, I'm thinking, hey, there's a good chance we may bounce out of here. I was looking for it. And so aggressive guy might go long right there because you got a new low. And if it was a spiking channel, we've got a break and a move down. Even if it's not going to bounce out of here, it's probably going to give you an easy scalp, which it did. So if you took that, no problem. And then this is where I would have been looking to really be a little more aggressive, but it never broke higher. And then now you got 4 bars stacked up there. So that just negates all the longs. But then it turns down. I don't think you can go short there. No way you go short there because that is trapped people every day for weeks. So even though this works, I think you just got to watch it. Unless you got in up here somehow, I think you just have to watch this trade. And definitely, I don't think you want to go short way down here. And somebody sent me their chart and they were going short way down here, which I don't think you should be doing that. Even though it might have worked, I think you got real lucky because look what happened when it bounced. And you don't want to get caught at the low of the day and then this happened. This is what I'm always wanting. It's, it's 20 something points higher now. So you can't afford to get caught low on something like that. And this is one of those days, I told you the market's usually efficient. It comes back and it takes out the original entry stops for people that moved their stop to break even. And it gives the people that got trapped on the wrong side a chance to get out. But sometimes it doesn't. Well, this is one of those times. And this is exactly what I was warning you about, that it doesn't come back, and you can't afford to ride it out because it doesn't come back. And so if you get short down here and you get trapped and you're riding this hoping it's going to come back, well, guess what? Tomorrow it might be at 950 or 960, and you just can't afford to do that. So, but anyway, aggressive trader, I like this one even better than this one simply because now you're bouncing off this low side. And you're probably coming back to the EMA and to retest this breakout area because generally you're going to retest that at the very minimum. It looked like it was going to try to set up another short, but it didn't, and it went higher instead. And then you get a little two-legged correction. This is really a second entry long on a smaller picture. You can see that new high, and it moves down, and that little doji, it corrects, and then it moves down again. But what I really liked about this trade was it broke lower below, like it was going lower, and then turned up and went out the upper side. And on a bigger or smaller picture, that is a second entry long, so I like that trade. It's a failed second entry short as well, so there's a trap right there. And then you get another little correction back. And here again, it's almost a repeat pattern, a little move back, and you get some resistance right there, and it breaks lower and goes out the top. Just put a stop right there. I like entering that on the stop. You can see it. You could have used a limit order, but sometimes on those kind of trades, a limit order doesn't come back. And so I think you just have to, since it broke lower first and went out the other side all in one bar, I think you just have to have a stop sitting above this little double top right there. It's little matching highs or whatever you want to call them. And any of these trades, I can't remember if that one, I think it's close. Let's see if they got the break-even stops on it. Yeah, no, they didn't get the break-even on that one either. So this trade, this trade, just about every one of these runners would have survived, and that's what's really, really nice about it. These are those days where you can add on or get some runners going, and we're probably headed up to here. Once you start seeing this channel working higher, this is going to be your first target, and then you want to find a measured move. Another target's probably going to be a measured move like so, in case it does. Even though this isn't really a range day, I don't think you could use that as accurately. It may turn out to be accurate, but I don't think you can use that as accurately. The other way is to find this leg on go out a little bit and find this leg up and then measure it, and it almost gives you a perfect. In fact, it might be a perfect measurement. Let's just measure it. So from here to here, and here to here, and you can see it. It's actually overshot that a little bit. So, uh, but a couple different ways to find some targets there. But we talked about that one. And this is a new low here. You know, you've got this little move down, a couple of, there's some matching lows. So that's a new low. Then you get a first entry long. You really could have entered even right there. Any one of these bars that turned up off of this trend line on a move like this, you could just about enter. This one is a little bit iffy because it's near these highs. So I actually, you know, now that I think about that, I'm going to change that one to green. I think by that time it's obvious that there's no break of this thing yet, so you're going to end up with a higher high. So I liked even that one. I had it blue, but really it probably should be green because it's so close to that high right there. But anyway, this is a new low, so that's a first entry short, and then a little second entry short that fails. You can go long right there. And then you get a little two-legged correction. So on a smaller level again, that's a second entry long. That's like a little breakout pullback long. It's just a bounce off the trend line. You didn't get one here, and you broke into a new low. So that one's like in the middle. So I don't like it. I think you're better to wait on this one. And then you get another chance to go higher, and then you get one more right here. And that's the first break of this thing. So you know you're going to push up and probably get a new high. And then you had this working down. You get your break, two legs to a new low. So I like going long right there too. Although this was all kind of working as I was looking at the chart review. But there's another two legs back, so a second entry long, and look at it go to a new high. And this one gave you a perfect little channel with the break and the two legs down. So can't hardly beat that one. But that was it. You know, it was really, and what's real interesting is that as slow as the market's been lately, questions and emails have been about that slow too. It's just gotten to where everything had come to just like a grinding halt almost. And then suddenly we have a big movement today, and suddenly I got 25 or 30 emails this morning. So everybody felt it. You could feel the emotions in the market today. You can see the emotions in the market. You can see the volume in the market. And it's a great day. And so hopefully we'll get a few days like this. We could go right back to what we were seeing because, you know, and people ask me my opinion of why things do, you know, why I did this. And this is just my opinion. But what I think is happening is that the big guys, the guys that move the market, like I said earlier, retail traders can't move the market like this. It takes serious volume to turn a trend that's moving down like this on a dime and go straight up like that. So that's some heavy buying. That's some big time players that are buying in volume. And what it is, they're still wanting to buy this market. People still want to buy this market. There's probably people still pouring money into their 401ks and their retirement funds, and you can't make any money anywhere else. So people are still investing in the stock market. So they don't like buying new highs though. That makes people nervous. So when the buying slows down like this, the big guys just step out. Either that or they sell it off a little bit. They find some people that they take a little bit of profits and they drive it down. And when they perceive it's at a value again, like right here, the buying comes in, pouring in, and it rockets to a new high. And now you can see we're getting a little bit iffy over here again. And you know, if it gets hung up here again, we may chop around in a range, and they may sell it off every day. And that's what's really happened almost every day. Look here, they let it go down early, and it trended up all the rest of the day and made new highs. Same thing here. They let it go down early. This was more of a range day. It just chopped around, but it closed higher. Look what they did here. They opened the market, they sold it down, and they bought it back. And, you know, every time it gets to those levels, wasn't going higher here, so it sells off and it comes down and tests that again, and then it goes higher. And I can show you that that's kind of been the pattern lately. They'll sell it off and then take it to a new high. And so that's my opinion of what's going on, is that people still want to enter this market. They still want to be in it. I'm guessing we're going to be at 2,000 before you can blink an eye. We're almost halfway there now. We're at 1940 something. And even though it's been slow and choppy, we're still steadily going higher. So be careful selling this market, but be careful buying it when it's in a little trend like this. You don't want to you got to follow the rules. And so I didn't really like any buying in this whole way down except right here. And the only reason then is because that's been the MO lately, for it to break lower or bounce off the lows and then rally. And you can see that it didn't rally for long here before it went lower. And all they did was what happened, I'm guessing, is they trapped a lot of people in long right here that don't scalp like we do. So they trap them in long, thinking that the same thing that's happened almost every day is that you hit these lows and it bounces. And today it doesn't bounce, and so they all have to exit, and that's what drives it down a little bit lower to an extreme, and then it's oversold, and it's a value. They perceive this price of 19, 20 to 21, 22 to be a value, and look at it go. And everybody's wanting a piece of it now. You got a little correction. And we could do this for a while. This thing could sell off really at any time. I mean, we're overdue for a big correction. But I wouldn't be in any hurry, and just make sure you follow the price action. And, draw these trend lines and follow the rules. And just remember that the overall longer-term bias is up. And, when you can be careful selling into support. Make sure, like right here, you got room to get out here. Right here, you got room to get out here. Notice here, you don't have room to get out, so you don't want to be selling there. Simple as that. So, and then you come back above here, you ain't got room to get out before you get back down to those lows, and you can see they held again. The only reason it broke lower here is they trapped everybody along, and this was a trap, and the fact that we broke straight through there and dropped like that tells you all we did was all the people that have been buying, it hit their sell stops, and then you had a big rush lower, and once those sell stops are worked through, the buying comes in, and boom, there it goes. And that's a sure sign of a trap when you get a big move like that. Right here too, boom, they trapped everybody. Everybody thought this was the bottom of this thing, and so don't be trying to pick bottoms and tops, and definitely don't be trying to pick tops. So there might be a huge move that comes off up there, but the odds of you catching it without losing a dozen times are slim to none. So stay away from it. Make sure you got a confirmed trend working down, or some reason to be going short before you start thinking short like this. This was a confirmed trend working down, and it was obvious what was going on. You don't know that it's going to reverse on a dime like this, but it does. And you just got to go with it. So most of the time when you get a channel like this, you should get a retest of the lows, and we never got that. So I'm guessing that this was a spiking channel. And again, it's not really obvious until now after the fact. But what a spiking channel is for anybody new is the prices spike down too steeply, and a trend that steep is not going to last long. So it spikes down real steeply, and then it kind of narrows down and becomes more of most of your healthy trends are going to be kind of at a 45-degree angle across your chart. This one's way too steep, and so, but it keeps going, so you can't argue with it, but it's way too steep. And so it's probably not going to last long before it leans over, but a good healthy trend will go at 45-degree angle. And that's about like that. And this one was a little bit steep right here, and then it kind of levels off to 45 degrees. And so this was probably a spiking channel, and then you got your break here, 2 legs down to a new low, and it reversed. But honestly, that's how I was looking at it first, but once we turned down here, I took this line. This is just a copy of that line. I pulled it up, and I said, hey, if we get something that sets up off that line, I'm taking it. And of course, we did get something to set up off of it right there, and again right there, and you got a second entry there. So at that point, I'm thinking, well, maybe this is just a bigger channel with a midline, and it still could be, and it just the buying was too strong. But I'm guessing this was probably a spiking channel now that it's all said and done. It doesn't matter. I mean, either way you played it, you probably were playing the same thing. Even if you were looking at this as the channel, that's your first break, and you know you're probably going to get a retest on something that's moved down that strongly. You're going to get a retest attempt, which came right there. This moved down, and then you didn't want to get in on this one for obvious reasons. And so either way, it gets you to the same place. I hope that's clear. Um, that's the point I wanted to make, is that you don't have to always see it exactly right, but you do have to be close, obviously. So, um, but anyway, that's pretty much it for the day. Great trading day. I hope we have some more of this coming up for the next few days. Wouldn't bother me if it was like this all summer, but that's one thing I will say, when it gets real slow and tight and you don't get much movement, um, when you finally do, it's usually a big explosion like this, and it's a great trading day, and we got it today. And I wish it could be like this every day. I wish it really would. We'd have trends like this every day. Then trading would be easy. So it's the mix-ups, and like I said, don't let them lull you to sleep, bouncing off these lows every day, because eventually it will go through just like it did today. And sometimes it doesn't come back, but today it went through, and all it did was give them an opportunity to buy the market at a discount, and they quickly run it to a new high. We're making all-time highs once again. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we're at 2,000 before you can blink an eye, because we're almost halfway there. And we just broke above 1,900 maybe a week or a week and a half ago. So we moved 40-something points here pretty quickly, even though it felt choppy and slow. So I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.